Okay, welcome. Welcome to Savoring the World. I think this will be an interesting topic, particularly where we all are in our journeys. And so the quote for this chapter is from Tara Brach, which many of you may know if you've not found her. She just, for me anyway, she has a wonderful meditation voice, and she does podcasts and meditations, and I loved her to talk to me over the internet. So she's one of my favorite teachers. So she said about savoring the world, the way to develop the habit of savoring is to pause when something is beautiful and good and catches our attention. The sound of rain, the look of the night sky, the glow in a child's eyes, or when we witness some kindness. Pause, then totally immerse in the experience of savoring it. And this is such a beautiful quotation. And certainly as we think about savoring the world, it's great to take that pause and really to immerse ourselves in whatever that situation is and immerse ourselves in the experience of savoring. So I love that quote. So in this chapter, we really focus on where to live and where to visit, or another way of putting it is where to be and where to go. And so that's a big part of this chapter, and it's important as we go through these transitions in midlife and beyond. These questions come up, and they can be challenging questions. And then the other part is really savoring the world that we live in today and every day. So we'll explore that in a little bit more detail. So where to live? Again, lots of options. Which country is where we started, the big picture. In the book, we did mention which planet, but most of us won't have that option yet. But which country? There's so many of us who were born and grew up in one country, and then we find ourselves living in a different country. We may be married or have a partner with someone from another country, and that presents all sorts of challenges in terms of where are we going to live, particularly in later life. So which country is a sort of big place to start? And then when they're within the country, which region, north, south, east, west, in the middle, and then sort of which environment are we going to be by the sea or in a city or out in the mountains? There's so many different things to consider. And this is often a time as we transition out of this full-time working that we do have some more choices. Often when we're working, we follow wherever the work is. But at this stage, maybe where we're transitioning out of full-time work, we have more options. So it is something really for us to think about and really consciously choose where do we want to be. Another aspect is in terms of the place is what work opportunities are we looking for? Are we going to continue working for a living? We've talked about working for a living and working for fulfillment. So that's a question. We may want some level of paid work. Now, a lot of it's online these days, but a lot of it's not. So it's paid work and also volunteering. What else can we do? And so that's important as we think about what sort of environment, what sort of community we're going to live in. And the idea of, recreational activities. Do you want to be by the beach so you can go swimming? Or do you want to live in the mountains so you can go hiking? What sort of communities are you looking for? Are you looking for a spiritual community or an active community? So really thinking through all of those things in terms of where to live. This is the opportunity for many of us as we transition to really consider and think consciously. And, I live in Florida a lot of the time, and a lot of people come to retire in Florida. What I've found is that people get there, find it's not quite what they expected, and then find that their family actually is somewhere else. And many, don't know if it's most, but many arrive in Florida, stay a few years, and then go somewhere else. They choose a different place, mostly closer to their families who are not in Florida. So lots of things to think about in terms of where to live. And then where to visit. Gosh, there are so many places in the world to visit. And I had a coaching client a few years ago he had a nice golden parachute from a company he was working with, and he and his wife decided to travel. They couldn't even decide where to go, so we worked on, okay, let's list 10 locations for each of them. Okay, let's see if we got some commonality and get it down to 5, and we did. We got the 5 ranked, and they started that journey. Then COVID came along, of course. I think they got 1 or 2 done. But the challenge, of course, is then, they're getting older and travel becomes more challenging. So again, it's good to have a dream about where we want to be, and start that travel journey early as possible in some ways. And then this idea of conscious travel or sustainable travel, one of the challenges is a lot of these nice places require us to fly somewhere. And, that's not necessarily so environmentally friendly. So it's something to think about. I have a colleague in the Elder Action Network who is French, and his home is in France, but he lives in Oregon on the west coast of the US. And so he's made a conscious decision not to travel to France as often as he used to, but to do a lot more things virtually. So another aspect of where to visit and how to travel. And this whole idea of solo travel, when we talked last time, I think about, people living alone, solo living or solo aging. And solo travel is another part of that. You may live on your own, may not have a partner. And so travel on your own can be a challenge. Lots of opportunities to do that. And the other aspect, of course, is that even if we have a good partner relationship, one wants to go here, one wants to go there. Maybe solo travel is the way to go. So again, something to think about as we visit. And then the whole idea of spiritual and inner journeys. For me, this has been important. I've spoken before about the my in-venture to the Serengeti with Richard Leider back in, 2009, 15 years ago now. But for me, a very spiritual journey, and very special, and really both, as he said, it was an in-venture, an inner journey and an adventure. So that's another part for me about where to visit, where to go. And I had the opportunity to do a men's wilderness journey up in the Boundary Waters up in Minnesota. Again, made really good connections with people and with nature. And I've been looking to see what next, where to go next. So that's certainly my quest for me. So a lot to think about in where to visit. And then that third aspect of savoring the world every day. And there is so many opportunities if we just take a pause and think about what we might enjoy, what we might stop and really savor, really immerse ourselves in it. And obviously the natural world is a great place to begin. As you know, I live by the beach in Florida, and just a couple of weeks ago, my evening walk, this is the time of year where the turtles have nested or are nesting. They nest virtually every day. There's new nests. And after 6 weeks or so, then the turtle hatchlings trundle down the sand and into the water. And I don't see them very often. They normally go at night. But just sometimes I'll catch them in the morning or in the evening. And I was on my evening walk, and there were a few of them just trundling down from the nest down to the water. Just for me, I just had to stop and watch them for a while and really savor what's going on for these turtle hatchlings, many of whom will never come back to the beach. I think I was at the Turtle Center the other day, and the guide there was saying, I think about 1 in 1,000 hatchlings live to adulthood. So, that some don't survive the beach and some don't survive once they get in there. But it's just a beautiful experience to see these hatchlings where the mother has left the eggs, finished her task. There's no more interest in raising the children, and gone off to the beach. And interesting, where I am in England, I look over a series of townhouses, and we have seagulls nesting on the roofs, and we have 3 baby seagulls that are just about, I don't know whether I'll see it, should be next week, I think. They're just about ready to fly. They're not quite ready yet, but it's interesting watching them grow and be ready to fly. So many opportunities for savoring. So sunrise, sunset, obviously, depending on where you live. I see the sunrise in Florida. I see the sunset in England, just where the windows are. The night sky, coming back to my Serengeti trip, sitting around the campfire at night, what I found was there's a lot more stars in Africa than there are here. And of course, they're the same number, but you just can't see them because of the extra light. So Tara talked about the sound of rain, other things to savor, our animals, our pets, of course, and the other animals and plants that are in nature. And just someone's smile or someone's tears is not to dismiss that, but just to spend time pausing and really, I love the word immerse ourselves in that situation. And seeing a moment of kindness is not to just pass it off as something insignificant. It is significant. And I'm sure there's lots of things as you think about savoring the world that come to mind. So many opportunities to savor our beautiful world. So these are the questions, the reflection questions at the end of the chapter, and really focusing on what we've been talking about. So where would you choose to live? And sometimes we're constraints, but where would you choose to live if you had no constraints? And where would you choose with the constraints we have? What type of home? Do we move from a house into a bungalow or single level? Do we move from, a single family home into apartment living? There's so many things to consider. And as we said just now, what are our community needs? So all that's, where do we choose to live? Where do we choose to go for travel and adventure? Again, lots of opportunities and some constraints. And what do you need to begin savoring in your world? What's the opportunity to pause and really savor the time we have? So those are some great questions, I think, for reflections on savoring.